Today we're going to learn something called completing the square. When you were graphing parabolas, it was super nice when something was in this format where you could just look at it and know that the vertex of that was 7, 1. But when you look at this equation, y equals x squared minus 4x plus 1, you can't tell what the vertex is, so it's just harder to graph. So we're going to try and rearrange it using a method called completing the square. And there's a really straightforward process, and the steps seem kind of strange. So you just need to see it through to the end to see why these steps work. So we're going to move c over and leave a blank. And remember, it's ax squared plus bx plus c. So this is the thing we're going to move over. So I get y equals x squared minus 4x blank plus 1. So I just moved c over and I left a blank. Now we're going to fill in the blank to make a perfect square trinomial. If you don't remember for perfect square trinomials, go back to Mr. Spooner's video called Special Factoring back in early April to give yourself a little refresher on that. But basically, I'm trying to make this into a trinomial that started out as something squared. So the way we're going to make that perfect square trinomial is we're going to take half of our middle term and square it. So I get y equals x squared minus 4x. Half of 4 is 2. 2 squared happens to randomly also be 4. And so I'm going to fill that blank in. And you're probably thinking that seems kind of illegal. I've just changed the question. I've added 4 to it. It doesn't seem like you should do that. So step 3 is undo whatever you just added on. Again, that seems like a crazy step. So you just have to believe this is all going to turn out. So I have x squared minus 4x plus 4 plus 1. And now I'm going to undo what I just did. I added on a 4, so I'm going to take it away so that I haven't changed the question. Step 4, I'm going to factor the trinomial, which we know factors to x minus 2, x minus 2, because I'm a pro at factoring perfect square trinomials. And if you need to go back and practice with that other video, do so. And then I get 1 minus 4 is negative 3. And now it's in this super nice format. All those really strange steps led me to a parabola whose vertex I know is 2, negative 3. And then graphing it is pretty nice. So let's do one more of those together because that's a lot of steps. And again, you can go back and pause and replay this video, but let's do one more together before I send you to do one on your own. Step 1, we move c over and leave a blank. So I get x squared plus 10x blank minus 3. The next step was fill in the blank to make a perfect square trinomial. So I get x squared plus 10x. What's going to make that into a perfect square? A positive 25. And if you need to go back and watch that video again about perfect square trinomials, do that. So if you don't know how I'm filling in that blank, go refresh your memory. Undo whatever I added on. So I added on 25. I can't do that without changing the question. So I'm going to take away 25. I'm now going to factor that trinomial, which I know factors to x plus 5 squared. And then I'm going to combine my two terms, minus 28. And then the last thing I'm going to do is state my vertex, which is negative 5, negative 28. And then if I asked you to graph these, you would be able to. You'd use your symmetry, find another point, just like you did in yesterday's work. So go ahead and try one on your own. Pause the video. And let's see if you got the right answer. Did you get a vertex of negative 3, negative 7? If not, pause your video and see if you can find where your mistake is. So the only way I can make this harder is if I give you a number that's not so nice to make that perfect square trinomial. So I'm going to go through one with you, and then you're going to do one on your own. So I have my blank, and I've moved C over. So I'm going to do this out. I'm going to find half of my middle term, which is negative 5 halves, and then I'm going to square it, and I'm going to get 25 fourths, and that's going to fill in my blank. And then I'm going to undo that. I'm going to take away 25 fourths. I'm then going to factor my trinomial, x minus half my middle term. And then I'm going to combine these two numbers. You can get a common denominator of 4 if you like to do it that way, or you can do 4 minus 6 1/4, which is negative 2 1/4, whichever way you like to do that. You could do improper fractions, or you can do mixed numbers. And then my last step is my vertex is 5 halves, negative 2 1/4. You could call that negative 2 1/2 and negative 9/4, whatever makes the most sense to you. So go ahead and try one on your own. Pause the video. Let's see if you got the right answer. Did you get a vertex of negative 3 halves, negative 17 fourths, or negative 1 1/2, negative 4 1/4? Any of those versions. It could be in decimal, could be in fractions. If you didn't get it, pause the video and see if you can find where you made your mistake. That's it. Hopefully you can go back and review if you need to before you start your homework.